I worried about Michael all the time because I saw danger in everything. I thought it was possible that he'd had an accident. Anybody can have an accident. When I got to the lake, this voice comes to me just as clear as a bell, and it said, "Mike is not in Lake Seminole. You have to find him and bring him home." So for the next 17 years, I spent my life trying to find my child.
It's a cold December morning in the Florida Panhandle. 31-year-old Mike Williams heads out from his Tallahassee home to go duck hunting on Lake Seminole.
Generally, when you go duck hunting, you're up early, you're getting out there before the ducks start flying. So he left really early. To drive to where he was going was approximately an hour drive, somewhere in that range. Mike had a wife, Denise, and they had a fairly new baby girl. She was about 18 months old. The plan was he was to come back that day. It was their anniversary with his wife, Denise. They were to go down to Apalachicola, Florida, and stay the weekend there.
I went for a walk, and when I got back that afternoon, my older son, Nick, was crying, and he said, "Mama, Denise called and they can't find Mike." And I said, "What do you mean they can't find Mike?" And Denise told us that she called her daddy, and her daddy called a friend of theirs, and they drove out to Lake Seminole to see if they could find Mike, and all they could find was his truck.
I was an FWC officer, Fish and Wildlife. Had just arrived home from a trip and was scheduled to go to work around 6 o'clock that day. And they called and asked me if I could to come on out, that they needed some assistance with it. The missing duck hunter on Lake Seminole. When I arrived there were friends and family members out on the lake already searching for the individual.
Mike's preference was to go with somebody, but he did hunt alone, simply because he couldn't arrange times where people could do it. Denise would know where he was. Golly, it just didn't seem right for Mike to be missing like that.
Mike was the kind of child that was always in a hurry. He never walked, he ran. My husband, Jerry, was a Greyhound bus driver. I had home daycare so that I could be at home with Michael and Nick. Jerry and I were not millionaires by any means, but, we were comfortable. I wanted them to get a good education, so we sacrificed and sent them to private school. Michael was involved in anything that he could be involved in. Sports was his big thing, and he was the class president. Michael was a good, honest person. He always worked for everything he got.
I was about 10 years old when I met Mike. He had the best heart of anyone that I've ever met. Very funny, just an all-around good kid. I remember the day he sat on my bed and told me about Denise Merrill. Oh my gosh, he was so excited. There was an aura about this couple, and I think it's kind of like out of the movies where the football player is with the cheerleader.
He met Denise Merrill the first day of the 9th grade. I think it was love at first sight. She told me that I knew when I met Michael that I was going to marry him. She loved Michael. Michael ended up graduating with a degree in political science and city planning. He went to work for Clay Ketchum, a real estate appraiser.
Mike Williams was as clean as anybody comes. He did his job, he took care of his family, he only wanted the best for other people. He wanted to be a successful person.
Mike and Denise got married on December 17th, 1994. It was beautiful. Denise was a beautiful bride. Michael was real nervous, handsome. On May the 8th, 1999, Mike and Denise had a daughter. His heart just went right to her. He was the best father in the world.
As the sun sets over Lake Seminole, investigators looking for Mike Williams face a grim scenario. They found a truck and trailer, but there's no sign of the 31-year-old father or his boat.
We brought in the helicopter because we're talking a 30,000-acre lake.
I was a wildlife officer for the state of Florida, stationed in Jackson County. Mr. Williams could have easily have hit a stump, and his boat was small, and it could have thrown him out of the boat very easily, and the boat would have set back up.
Lake Seminole has a large amount of vegetation under the surface, so there was a possibility he could have gotten tangled up in some of this vegetation.
Because Mike Williams' boots are found in the vehicle, Officer Arnett is able to determine that Williams had been wearing rubber waders when he left in his boat.
When someone falls into water with the waders on, the pressure of the water pulls and sucks to your skin, and it's extremely tough. It's almost impossible to get those waders off. It would pretty much take you to the bottom.
There was a lot of people there. One of the first people that were out there looking was Mike Williams' best friend, and that was Brian Winchester.
Brian Winchester met Michael the first day of the 9th grade at North Florida Christian School. Michael and Brian had the hunting in common, and they became really, really good friends. They went hunting all over the country. Michael loved Brian.
During the search, he said to me numerous times, "I can't be here when they find Mike's body." And I said, "I understand, I don't want to be here either."
Brian had found the boat. He and his father was in the search party, and they had located the boat themselves.
The location of the vessel was not far from the landing where he launched. I found a shotgun in a case. I found decoys, life jackets, and the contents indicated that he wasn't in the process of hunting at the time because of his gun being cased.
There was no mud in the boat. There was no telltale signs of a hunter. You know, I mean, you get wet and you get muddy and you get stuff in the boat. None of that was apparent. We all just looked at each other like, what? This is making no sense at all. I just had a feeling Mike was gone. He was gone from the earth.